If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
Well, I'm Frank. I'm from Arlington, Texas. I'm a neighbor of Larry's, and we don't get together often enough, but we have fun with these Zoom meetings. So I pass it on to Bill. Introduce yourself, Bill.
Well, if my audio is working,
It
my name
is.
Bill. I'm in Maryland. There's not much more to say.
All right.
And Dan, is your audio working well enough to introduce yourself? We'll see.
Well, can you hear me okay?
For the moment, I can.
Okay. Well, I'm Dan, and I live in Illinois on a small lake.
Okay. So we're glad to see you out and about. No flying squirrels attacking you today?
No, they can't swim.
Okay. And Jacob.
Hey there, I'm Jake Roseberry. I'm on the same boat, believe it or not.
Oh, you are. So
Yes.
that's why we're hearing a
What's
little
that?
bit of feedback there, a little bouncing around, but it wasn't too bad. So, and Dr. Joe.
Joe Vitolo, longtime fountain pen collector and calligrapher. I've got a few of Tim's great pens, and just one. Oops, sorry. I got to take this. My father's having some issues.
Oh dear. Okay, you take care. And Mr. Tim, will you introduce yourself? Because I'm not sure if everyone knows you, but now we will.
Hell, I don't even know me. I'm Tim Cullen, and I am a fountain pen maker and engraver. I have been making fountain pens for many years. I used to make them in California, but a few years back I switched and I moved to Georgia, and I currently have a shop here, and I'm in my shop in Canton, Georgia.
All right then, Tim. Welcome to the show, and glad to have you on. And it's going to be an interesting one, because tell us all about what you do, how you do it, the engraving, and how you put all this together, because you have some pretty awesome looking fountain pens.
Well, thank you. Everything I do, and I can do, if I wonder if I can turn my thing around. I guess I can. I can take you through the shop if you'd like.
So let's go to the shop, everybody. Come on, follow Tim.
Okay, here, let me turn myself around. All right, so there's says Tim's shop. So here is where I do all my engraving. I have a nice setup here. It's with microscope, and I've got a vise and my engraving machine, and then all my gravers. Basically, I can engrave pretty much any metal, except I wouldn't engrave Damascus because it's kind of a waste of time. I have engraved it though, but I can engrave titanium, stainless, copper, bronze. I've taken a lot of classes on engraving from some of the great engravers of the currently in the world. That doesn't mean I'm a good engraver. It just means I've taken the classes. This is my workbench, and as you can see, it's cluttered with everything. And everything I do is by hand. So I use no proprietary parts except for the nib. The nib is the only thing that I buy. But I have rows of files and an old Stanley vise that I shape my clips on. And then also sometimes you'll see that I make solid silver overlays. And these start out as a sheet, and I'll show you what they start out as. These all start out as a sheet of silver or copper. And then I pierce and cut the design, and then I solder and turn it into a cylinder. Now, these are my practice ones that I didn't deem good enough to use.
Tim, how difficult is that to do?
It's very difficult. It's very time consuming, because this is a pattern that is, patterns are very difficult because you can ruin them really easy. Here's one I did that I wasn't happy with. It was an almost a go, but not quite. This is turtles with some fish.
Yay, turtles.
But I didn't like it, so I'll end up doing another one eventually. But I do all types, like, you know, here's a pen that I'm working on for a friend. He bought this and then he wanted to upgrade to a ring and a Damascus clip. So that's that Damascus clip is handmade by me. If you could see kind of, and how I do this is I create the clip and then I mill it on my milling machines by hand, and then I solder the ring into the clip. Here, let me take it apart real quick and I'll show you. Sorry for the darkness. I had to set my phone down. Okay, so you'll see this clip right here. This ring was milled by me out of stainless steel. Hope you can here's a better view of it.
Yeah.
And then you can see the underside where I've soldered it. It's hard to see, but it's Damascus and then the ring is stainless. And I can kind of take you through how I do that. It starts out like a piece like this. This is just a piece of Damascus that you can get pretty much from anywhere. And then I take it and I cut it on my bandsaw, which is a metal bandsaw. And then I take it to my set of mills. I have 3 mills, each do individual things. This one I'll mill it straight and flat with using jigs that I've made on my own. And I'll get it to look like this. And then I'll mill part of the underside. And you can see there's a step down there. Hopefully you can see it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. And then what I do is that I take it and then I'll mill the small slot. Now in here I have one that I'm just about to mill. And I mill a small slot in there all by hand. Now the rings I make on this, I turn the ring, I cut it and then I drill it and then I turn it to get that circular ring. So it's only 2 pieces that I use, and everything I do, like I said, these are manual machines. There's no computer or anything on them. They're just manual machines. I like it better that way because it's my work and not a computer's work. So this one that I have here, you can see I milled the slot in it and I milled the underside. Now what I would do is I would take it to my vise. I'd put it in my vise and I would take my series of files and file it down. And then I would go over to this sander and I would sand it or something, you know, where I could want to change a couple of, you know, get things better. And then I would take it to my jewel tool once I'm done filing and sanding, and then I would get a finished sanding. And then if I needed to engrave it, and I don't know if anybody's seen my engraved clips,
I've never have.
I don't know if I have any engraved clips on me anywhere here. You know, well, it's not unlike, you know, let me see, I got a plate in here. Let me take it off. Here's every morning I get up and I do some practice engraving where I just sit at the engraver and engrave stuff. And you can see where I've done some just different doodle. It's like doodling, but you know, I don't have anything. Most of everything that I engrave goes out. Here's one I'm working on here's a couple things I'm working on. This is English style engraving.
Okay.
You see, this is in titanium.
That looks cool.
And this is just one that's in progress. This side is finished. And you kind of get that kind of look. And then here is one I'm doing for a lady. This is a sugar skull, and it's kind of got like a 3D sculpted effect.
Oh, I like that. That is cool. Yeah.
And then I have to finish the back end of it, but it looks like rocks or something like that.
Mm.
And this is all by hand. So it's hours and hours of work.
So Tim, how long does it take you to make one pen?
It depends. Like I'll take you through and I'll show you the process.
All right.
Okay, so usually, and I have things in all different types of processes. So what you see here is on the bench is you see a piece of acrylic. But, you know, usually it starts off with, and I'll show you my materials, starts off with ebonite or acrylic or something like that. And then I cut it to length and I'll take it and I'll put it on this 1950s Atlas Craftsman lathe that I've been working on for years. And I'll turn it down to size. And then once I get it to size, I'll create a barrel. And let me show you, I've got a couple barrels here. Well, let's just take this one, for instance. This is actually the front door to Ellis Island. I'm the only one that has this. So if it's a wood barrel, what I do is I make a sleeve, and a sleeve is basically like this. You'll see this. And this will slip inside the wood. Once I'm done with that, I'll epoxy the sleeve inside the wood, and then I'll take it to my 1950s Atlas lathe, and I'll thread a 4-start thread on it all by hand. And here's where my threads, I set my thread up here, and I do each lead one at a time. I don't use taps and dies. Taps and dies are what people use because they don't know how to thread. But the problem is that you're limited to what size you can thread. You can only thread one size of pen. If you only have one set of tap and die, you can't thread multiple sizes. I make 3 different size pens. This is my 9/16 diameter thread. Then here's one that's a 1/2 inch diameter thread. And then I also make a 5-inch emperor size diameter thread. And I could make even bigger or even smaller if I choose to. So like it's most commonly that I use 9/16 because that's the size most people like. But then what I do is I make the cap out of the same material. I'll bore it and then I'll turn it and then I'll thread it also. Same thread, all in the same lathe. And as you can see here, I've got the ring made and set. And everything is done, like I said, by hand. I'm probably one of the only pen makers I know of. There's very few that do a lot of metal work. Most of the pen makers that you see are either using proprietary parts or not making their own stuff. I'm one of only a couple of them that I know make 2-piece style clips. Now, this is the ring I'm talking to you about that I make, and that will solder onto a clip like this. And I have my own soldering station and everything like that. And that was that one piece of metal that you've seen is going to go with this. So once I'm done, making the cap and the barrel, then I'll shape it. And usually it'll get it'll get a shape like this. And Dr. Joe actually has this pen.
Yeah, I saw a picture of that. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, this is made from vintage green celluloid.
Can I interrupt for 1 second, Tim? From the barrel to the grip, is there a step off or does it go right into the grip section?
Well, I don't understand what you mean.
When you're going down the barrel and you're going to the grip section, is there a step off, like a little lid there, where the cap screws on to the barrel of the pen?
Well, there is I can make either any way you want.
I was just wondering on your pens, do you have that?
I'm not sure if I'm following. Here's one that has a small step to the threads.
I was just wondering. All right.
I don't do a huge step.
Okay,
I do a small one. And that goes back to what I was saying about using a tap and dies, because people want to make a bigger pen, but then your thread is too small around. Okay. You can't make a bigger pen. Here's a wood pen that I've it's not a very big step. Now I can make it flush if somebody wanted a flush.
Like that. Okay.
It doesn't matter. But it's easy. It's usually people want that for some reason. I don't know why. Hold on. Here's a small one, small step too.
Okay.
Yeah, I could tell you firsthand, there's no issue with Tim with that. His pens are very comfortable. There's no, what you're talking about, Larry, is some of these pens are made with the huge cylinders and they step down to a really small writing area.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's not Tim's pens. No,
Yeah.
you can't really tell that difference.
Okay, so if you're talking about like a section, like here's the section that I made.
there he is. Okay. All
Okay,
right.
so my sections are flush with the thread.
Okay.
Right.
I'm going to show you.
Ah, all right. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very. I make them to fit to be flush with the thread.
All right. I like that. Yeah.
I don't like a step down section from the thread. It might be a millimeter or a very small,
It's small.
very slight where it's unnoticeable. But I think that it's a sign of. I think it's a sign of quality to have it like this. I think if your section is thinner than your thread, then you need to go back to the drawing board. For me, that's the way it should be. It's more comfortable in the hand. I used to use a 2-start thread, but now I use a finer 4-start thread where you can barely even see the thread in some material. But like I said, it's all done by hand, and I shape each one of these sections by hand. So if somebody wanted a straight section, I typically do an hourglass section, but I can do straight. I can do hourglass at the top that's flares or whatever. If you want a certain diameter, I'll try to get close with that. What happens is because I'm making things by hand, and I don't waste a lot of time. I'm not, Mr. Measurer and stuff. A lot of things I do is by feel. Oh, you talk about engraving. Here's a ring that I engraved.
Okay.
And you can see, I'll be putting this on an extra pen that I'm making. I don't know if you can make that out.
Barely.
Let me see if I can get it somewhere where you can see it better. I'm sorry. How about now? Is it better?
A little bit.
Maybe on up against a white surface or something. No, that's even worse.
There's
Anyway.
a little better. Yeah, there's a little bit better. I can always zoom it in later.
So anyway, that was all done by hand. I made the ring actually too. So that's the next thing I was going to tell you. So then once I start either my finials, now I do rings and I do finials all made by hand as well. So they start out just typically as metal bars. And here's my bar stock. Here's some nickel silver. I've got 416 stainless. I've got bronze. I've got titanium. I've got Mocha Megane. I'm just getting ready to start my LE project, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. This is the twisted copper and nickel silver.
Oh, that's pretty there. Like that.
Yeah, this stuff is $52 an inch.
Oh, like that. It's even better. Yes, sir. I'll take like 20 of them, please.
And here's what I make the clips out of.
All right.
You can see the nice pattern in there. And this is handmade by a guy named Mike Sackmar in Michigan. And then I have, like I said, I have an extensive collection of Damascus. This is all my Damascus pieces. And then I have some Damascus bars as well. As far as my materials go, I have I even use meteorite. Look at that, guys. That's a slice of meteorite.
You're using mammoth tooth, aren't you, Tim? Mammoth teeth and
Yeah. Well, I'm going to show you my LE project, but as far as my materials go, I have an extensive line of materials, and Dr. Joe was talking about mammoth tooth, and here's my mammoth tooth collection. I'm currently in the middle of a LE project that I haven't done an LE since 2016. So this is my newest project. I'm doing 18 pens, all mammoth tooth pens. So I have different colors, natural. I prefer the natural stuff. It's a
That's
pain
good
in the
looking
butt.
there. Yeah, that's good looking.
Yeah, that's beautiful stuff. It's hard to work with. You have to know what you're doing. But I also have mammoth ivory.
I like that.
Yeah. There's some in resin. I have muskox horn. Let's see if we can get a piece of that out.
That's nice.
And all of this stuff I get from Canada or Alaska. I have guys that I get it from. I have fossilized walrus.
Huh.
I have caribou, and I have, this is a moose antler. And just a number of natural materials that I use. This is a new thing I just got. My brother makes surfboards, and he went to the Hobie people in the original Hobie factory. And this is the resin that ended up on the floor for 50 years.
Huh.
Really?
When Hobie was alive. So
Oh,
I've got a couple pieces of that. Not many people have that. And then I just have I have some historic pieces. I don't do as many historic pieces as I used to. Here, I don't know if I made the Shawshank Redemption pen, and this is from the Shawshank tree in the movie. I'm the only one that has, well, I'm the one that Field of Dreams asked me to make them a pen. So this is from their Field of Dreams barn, the movie site. So I'm going to make a few of those. I have some shipwood. I don't know what this is. Comiskey Park. It's no big deal. But Wrigley Field, Boston Shipyards, stuff like that. You know, some of the famous stadiums. This is Ebbets Field. So I don't make a lot of these anymore, but I can. I'll make a few. Remember I was telling you about the Ellis Island? There's Ellis Island, the front door, when people were coming through it. I think I might be the only one that has that. And then I've had a lot of vintage materials. A lot of this you might recognize, that snakeskin. So I have a lot of vintage materials that I use. All vintage. You know, vintage Gololith. A lot of wood, of course, and a lot of celluloid, and a lot of ebonite. So I have a pretty good, and then I have just a ton of ebonite up here.
Tim, you also did pens and casein, right?
Yeah, I do. I have some right here. I have a good selection of it. Here we go.
Yeah, it's a beautiful material.
Yeah, I love it. I use it a lot. My favorite one is this called Matisse.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Oh.
But I have it in all the purple, and it's hard to get big pieces of it. It's not really common. And I have a bunch of different stuff in here. It's hard to go through everything, but some vintage celluloid plates. I have real celluloid. Dr. Joe has I think the only real celluloid pen I ever made. I have a couple of pieces of it.
Larry fell in love with that pen. I showed him some high-resolution images.
Yeah, I was jealous.
I don't get a lot of call for it, but I have a lot of the vintage stuff.
That's a good looking pen, though. I don't know why you don't. It's a good looking pen.
Well, there's not a lot of that stuff going around anymore. I have a lot of vintage French acetate, and I like it. But mostly people want things that they can't get anywhere. I think that's really my niche. Is if there's something that you want and you can't get from anywhere else, you can get it from me, because I can do all my own hand engraving. I can do pretty much anything I want. So this is my metal lathe. And once I do my metal work, I do it all on this metal lathe. This is my other lathe. I have 3 lathes in the shop. I have 4 mills. And they pretty much do specific things. I do metal work on this lathe. I do all my other work on this one right here. And then all my shaping for my barrels and everything is done on this lathe. And I have all the same collet chucks, so I can fit the same collets. With the collets are things that hold the grip, the pen when I'm working on it. So that's pretty much my shop. I want to show you my new project. Let's go back over here.
Real quick, Tim, how do you get that polish on that pen? It is so good looking. I just love the finish on it.
So for me, I don't use the lathe to polish. I do everything by hand. So as you see here, you'll see 3 cups of water here. If the pen is celluloid or it's ebonite or it's whatever, once I get it off the lathe, I start sanding it with water. If it's a material that I can use, and here's all my sandpaper back here, and I'll sand it by hand, the whole darn thing, all the way to the highest grit that I have. And then when I do that, I finish that, I look through the microscope and I look to see if I can see any scratches. Now, you're never going to get rid of every scratch, but it's possible you can get rid of most of them. There's going to be scratches. I mean, I'm sanding down to like 5,000 or something like that. Then I take it over to my buffing area, and this is where I do my buffing. I have 3 stages of buffing. I have another buffer right here, and I'll buff it with compound and get it to where I want it. My theory is I don't sell anything I wouldn't own, so I won't send a pen out unless it's. And I'm not saying that I have the highest standards. I'd like to think that I do, but I'm not sure that I do. So to my standard is to me good enough. Let me turn this back around so you can see. So basically that's my shop. Oh, I wanted to show you my LE project. Sorry, let's turn this back around. I hope I'm not boring anybody.
Nope.
No.
So I'm doing a series of 18 pens right here, and they're all out of mammoth tooth. So what I first do is, like I said, showed you those mammoth tooth blanks. I have to bore through this mammoth tooth. So what I use is like a concrete drill bit, like a 1/2 inch. And I put this in a special chuck that allows me to grip these ends, these sides right here like this. And once I do that, I get to it. Then I take a boring machine, boring tool, and I bore it out to like 12.5 millimeters, a little over a 1/2 inch. And then what I do is I create the sleeve out of acrylic. So then when I epoxy this, there's not too much room. There's not a lot of slop, but there's enough for the epoxy to set and to grip this on. And then what I'll do is I'll go back, I'll chuck this back up in the lathe, and I'll turn it to where it's round. As I go, I will continue to add like some CA glue to keep it from cracking and filling in the small pores, because it's a very porous material. And like Dr. Joe knows, it's layers of hard and soft material that has been embedded in the ground for hundreds of thousands of years. So you'll go through one layer, it's rocky hard, and then there's another layer that's not so hard. So as you turn this stuff, it can get really, really crazy. But I'm doing several of them. These are all been pre-bought. Every one of them except one. I'm calling it patient 0. And the reason I am is because this is going to be the one I do first every step, to make sure that I'm doing the right steps in order and the right process. So if I screw up on this one, I'm not going to be upset. Maybe I need to fix my process, and then I'll go on to the ones that are for people. I don't think I've ever messed one up yet, but it's always a possibility. That's why I like to keep myself honest and doing one at a time. So tomorrow morning I'll get up and I'll put epoxy on every one of these, and they'll dry for 24 hours. And then the next day, or over the next couple of days, I'll be turning these and sanding these. So once I'm done, I'll cut this end right here off, and I'll thread another piece onto the end to create the entire barrel. Once that's done, then I'll cut to length and I'll thread this, and that'll be your barrel. I don't know if anybody's seen my mammoth tooth pens, but I do sell quite a lot of them. it's a popular pen for me. And I don't think that there's that many people that make them. I'm not sure if you guys know anybody else that make them, but I don't know.
I don't know any either.
They're just really difficult to make. There's a lot of kit pen makers that make them. But it's funny if you see one that those guys are even charging like $1,000 for them, which is crazy.
For a kit pen?
Yeah. I mean, I know a couple guys that make and charge a lot of money for them.
No, thank you. I'll have to.
Well, it's, you know, it's because of the materials.
Yeah,
It's really-
yeah, but you know, when you go to kit pens, I just not my thing.
No, and you know, a lot of people get fooled by kit pens because, you know, there are still some makers who are making them and they're selling them to people. And I just think you need to educate yourself and know what is a kit and what is not.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out there that says this is my original work. Well,
Yeah.
it's not original work. And like I said, a lot of people that are making pens are using clips that are pre-made, or, you know, rings that are pre-made, or, you know, they buying things that are pre-made, and that's fine. I'm not a manufacturer. I don't do anything, you know, most everything that I do is one-off. The LE project, even though they're all going to be made similar, each one of them is a one-of-a-kind piece. And what I'll do when those are done is I'll hand engrave the number of 1 of 8 or 0 of 8, 18 or 17 or whatever on the back. So you'll get my personal hand engraving on each one. Plus, I'm the only one, I think, in the entire world that hand engraves his own nibs.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, do you do any engraving on the barrel?
Yes.
Okay.
This one right here is going to be a barrel. And let
Oh,
me show
okay,
you how
okay. I got
Let
you.
me show you how I do that. Let me see if I can find something that'll. Okay, take this for instance. It's not fit, but I'll engrave this.
Right.
And then I have my sleeve, and this will go in here.
Ah,
And then
okay.
you'll thread another piece into this. And I do a lot of these, like this.
Okay.
So then you get a hand engraved barrel and a hand engraved ring, or, you know, it's a very, 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 very long process. Hand engraving is an art unto itself. It's like pen making is hard enough, then hand engraving is even more of a pain in the butt. But I'll be honest with you, it's a more artistic approach to making pens. I know of only one other hand engraver that makes pens. But he doesn't go to the same lengths that I do. He doesn't engrave his own nibs or anything like that.
I think his passion is more with knives, right, Tim?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, he doesn't engrave them. Ray Cover does.
Oh, okay.
And that was my teacher. But he's still a great pen maker, and that's David Broadwell. He's a absolutely great pen maker. He does everything by hand as well, but he just sends his work out to be engraved. And I think Ray even engraves his nibs, but I engrave all my own nibs. I engrave all my own pens. So if you get something from me, 99.999% chance that everything that you see on that pen is going to be engraved by me. Everything you see except for the nib is made by me.
Now, Tim, talk about the nibs for a bit. What do you offer in the line of a different variety of nibs? Gold nibs, titanium nibs?
All of it.
All of it? Okay. How about like broad, double broad, oblique? Yep. You know, Mont Blanc does that quite well.
I do. I can get pretty much any nib, and I've used pelican nibs. I'm getting ready to use a sailor nib. Again, so I can thread anything.
Okay.
That if I can find the thread to it, I can thread anything. Now, if it's a press fit, then I could maybe send it on to someone who can, do a specialized casing for that. I don't deal with any of that yet. I've not ever made a pen with a press fit nib. Most of mine have a threaded casing, and I thread it in. I use predominantly, I would say, Jowo nibs. I tend to like them better than the Bach nibs.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they're just a better nib. But like I said, I can also use pretty much any nib and anything, any housing that I can thread. I can thread Bach housing. I can thread Pelican, Sailor, even gosh, as long as I can figure out how to mount it, I can do it.
Titanium nibs up, they're pretty expensive.
No,
No.
titanium is going to fall between. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say they're expensive. They're going to fall between steel and gold. Let's say we have a 6 titanium, it's going to be like $120. So, where a gold is going to be almost. Oh wait, I'm sorry. A gold nib will be about $125 for a number 6, and I'm going to say a titanium would be about 80 or 90. They used to be about $55, but they have gone up in the last couple of years.
That's not a bad price for it, though. Yeah, I like titanium nibs; they're pretty decent.
That's actually my favorite nib. Here's one for you. I make pens all day long, but how many pens do you think I own? One pen. Yep.
Hey. Huh.
I own one pen, and the reason I own one pen is because I don't have time to write. So, and I use it to sign all my paperwork. Whenever you get a pen from me, I'll give you a list of how I did it and why I did it or what the reason. It's just like a synopsis page, and I'll tell you what materials were used and whatever and how I engraved it. And then I'll give you a certificate of authenticity, and I'll sign both of them, and I sign everything with that pen. I've sent pens all over the world, from Taiwan to Hong Kong to London to Scotland to France to Sweden, down in South America.
What's your favorite nib that you use, Tim?
What?
What is your nib that you use? A medium?
Me, for personally?
Yeah.
Medium or fine,
Doc, do you use a fine or extra fine?
I use a Japanese extra fine.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's really fine. Give me chills. Oh, man.
When I was working with Tim, we used the Mike Masuyama needle point, right?
Yes. And now I've been using Mark Bacchus more. I'm having good luck with him, and we live really near to each other, so I just drive over there.
Tim, it's amazing how many fountain pen people are in the state of Georgia or near it.
I found that very surprising, because when I left California, I thought, man, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be. It's turned out, I don't know if this is going to be a good move, because I thought I would be in the middle of nowhere when it came to fountain pens, and it turns out I'm here, and so is Mark Kruzak or Kruzak.
Ryan Kruzak.
Ryan Kruzak.
John Brooks is not far from me. He's getting a lot of fame now with his blanks he's doing for everybody, Leonardo blanks and all that stuff.
Tim.
And Mark Bacchus is here.
Tim,
That's right.
Excuse me for a minute. We have people that are asking for your website. Can you give people your website?
No, because I don't have one.
There you go, people. Yeah,
That's why we couldn't find it.
That's what they've been asking on the phone. Yeah, he doesn't have
He's on
one.
Facebook. He's on Facebook.
My wife tells me not to get a website. I'm already overrun it with commissions, and it's going to take me 2 years to get through what I have now. So I don't have a website, and I don't advertise, because if I did, I would fear that I would never get anything done. I don't have the time to police a website. So basically I just do Facebook, and I have a pretty good presence on Facebook. I think that's how you find me, Larry.
Yeah.
That's how Dr. Joe and I got together too, through Facebook. And it's been really good for me. It started off slow, and then I got more and more people to buy my stuff, and Now it's just like I have to cut the list off. I basically cut it off until the first of the year until I can get caught up. I have a pen coming in the next issue of Pen World.
Okay.
So it'll be in there. I've been nominated 7 times for best artisan pen, and I've never won yet.
Really?
It's funny. It's I want to say it's a sore subject for me because I think the term best artisan pen is not true to the people who have won that. And I think to be an artisan is to be basically the root word is artist. Most of the people that are winning that they're small manufacturers, basically. They're like
some of the pens that Doc showed me that he has from you. I would have think at least one of those would have won an award. I mean, they're outstanding pens. They're gorgeous. They're just dynamite. I'm just like, wow, Tim did that.
The problem I think the problem with me is that I don't do shows that much. Like I said, I saw Dr. Joe a few years ago at the Atlanta show, but I have not been back since. I did the LA show a couple times where I showed up and did a seminar, but I don't do any shows. I don't travel around DC to, the triangular pen. I don't go to Denver. I've never gone to the Dallas show, never San Francisco. I've been to 2 shows, LA and Atlanta. That's only because I live there.
You just showed up in Atlanta, I believe, Tim. You didn't have a table. I just ran into you.
I did not have a table. I just showed up and talked to people, but I don't do shows. So therefore, my name doesn't get out like, let's say Canalea or Ryan Kruzak or Jonathan Brooks. They all do a show circuit. They also make a lot more pens than I do, and they do like pen models. And I don't do pen models. Basically what happens is you call me up and you'll say, I want this. I want mammoth tooth and I want it with this metal and I want it this engraved. And I'll say, okay, let's do it. It's you don't see that very often. There's not a lot of people that can do that. They can work within themselves, and that's great. They make 100 of the same pen, and they are beautiful pens. I really like Ryan Kruzak's pens. I'll use him as an example. I think some of the wood that he uses is absolutely stunning, and it just so happens we get our wood from the same place in Georgia. And his pens are absolutely beautiful, but a lot of them are the same. He makes a lot of same stuff. Now, his paintings and his scrimshaw set him apart. But if you look at like Jonathan Brooks or Franklin Christoph or Canalea or any of the other small single manufacturers, they're doing a line of pens, which is great. I cannot do that. I'd get bored.
But looks like you don't need to have websites or go to pen shows because you're extremely busy as it is.
It is. I'd like to do a pen show one of these days. I keep telling my wife I'm going to make 8 to 10 pens. I'll make them, I'll engrave them, I'll make them really cool. And then one of these days I'll hit a pen show other than Atlanta or LA. Maybe Denver or St. Louis or San Francisco. But the problem is that I can't find the time. There's always somebody that calls me up and says, hey, can you make me this? Can you do this? Can you do that? And sometimes, if I have some of my certain collectors, I have to get on it right away. Yeah. Because they've been big money collectors of mine, and I have a few that I just get on it right away, and I'll make them. And I used to do just 3 or 4 pens at a time, but I'm trying to get on to do like 6 or 7, 8 or 9 pens at a time now. It takes me longer, but then I can get a lot more done if I do them all in the same sequence. But many times, a lot of them are completely different. There's nothing the same.
Okay. What's your most the favorite material that you use? Ebonite or what?
See, with me, it runs the gamut. I would consider myself more of a metal worker. I see, here's the difference you'll see with my work than you will see with a lot of other people. I don't rely on crazy looking plastic.
Right.
If you see a lot of my pens, I don't rely on the plastic to make my pens look. It's almost like a smoke and mirrors type thing. A lot of these people are putting out these pens, and don't get me wrong, they're nice looking pens, but they relying on the material. I don't rely on the material. I rely on my workmanship. So a lot of my pens, if you look me up, you'll see a lot of them are solid colors. They're blue, they're green,
Yeah,
they're red,
yeah.
they're pearl. And then I rely on my metal work to set my work apart, or my engraving. So I don't have a favorite material because I don't use enough of the same material enough to have a favorite.
So do you use the Jovo nibs? If somebody wants the Jovo nib, or what to say, I want a nib like a Pelican.
I can use a Pelican nib. I've used an M1000 nib that I got from Dr. Joe.
Oh,
Yes, that's right. I forgot all about that, Tim.
Dr. Joe in the house. All
He sent me
right.
a nib, said, hey, you can use this, make something out of it, whatever you want to do with it. And I did a couple of years back. But I mean, I've done things where I've made a pen, and this guy was a piano player, and I don't know if you've seen that pen where I've engraved the entire piano keys on a clip.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I can send you pictures of certain things. Or someone said, my twin brother and I, we used to play around a dogwood tree in my backyard. So could you, and they were fraternal twins. It was a woman. Can you make me a pen with dogwood? And then he loved horses. So can you engrave horseshoes on them? And then the sign for fraternal twins. And I did that, and I can send you pictures of that. I've also done Christmas pens where I made it out of the house from Christmas Story, and I made the clip look like the lampshade, and I engraved it to look like the lampshade on the Christmas Story movie.
Cool.
Yeah, so when I did the Shawshank pen, I engraved Andy going through that, I engraved him digging on the nib. So there's a lot of ways that you can personalize pens using your metal work, and you don't have to rely so much on these crazy plastics, because that's all you have to rely on. And I'm not dissing anybody that does that, but that's not what works for me.
What I saw, Doc's pen that he has from you, that blew me away. That's that's a pen. That's a good looking pen.
Well, those are actually most of Dr. Joe's pens that I made him are a few years ago, and I've evolved even more from that.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful pens, but I've even evolved from even doing even more difficult work, and those were difficult pens. Like I said, there's not a lot of people that are doing the same thing that I do. And
Some
I don't
people
know.
may not realize it, but Tim actually, for a brief period, limited run of my own pen, Model V pen, Tim, right?
Yeah,
And,
we did that back
to
in
give you an idea,
California.
I'm a perfectionist, and I'm a type A personality. He's the only guy, when I'm talking to him, I would trust with doing that. I made no money from that pen or anything like that, but Tim was the only one I trust to actually make that pen right.
Yeah, and I actually didn't make any money either. I don't make I'm a retired. I retired from law enforcement back in 2016 after 27 years. So I wanted to find something that I could do, and I was doing pens before that, but I wanted to do something where I didn't have to get a regular job, because I was only 49 years old. So I think I jumped into this because I don't have to go to work every day. I get up and I come down to my shop, and not to bust on anybody that has a 9 to 5 or works, because I did it for 33 years. But I'm living my dream to do this, and people want my work, and I feel by the grace of God goes I feel blessed that people do want it.
So Tim, I know people are gonna ask again, even though you said what you said about websites. If somebody wants to order a pen from you, can they get you on Facebook and say, Tim, I want a pen? Can they do that still? And if so, is there a waiting time? And if so, do you ask for a deposit?
Yeah, so here's how it goes. If you want a pen from me, the first thing I'll tell you is it's going to be at least 18 months to 2 years. Because right now my list is at like 55 or something like that.
I'll be dead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You know,
Maybe I could wait. Maybe I can put death off a little longer, but go ahead.
so what happens is if you want on my list, I'll say, okay, you want on my list, then you pay me a retainer of $100. It's a non-refundable retainer, but it keeps your spot on the list. A lot of times you can move up from that because I'll get to someone and they'll say, well, I'm not ready yet. Or, you know, can you put me down on the list a little bit more? And I'll do it 1 or 2 times. So then what happens is I add you to my message group. I have a message group where I do daily updates. I send pictures. I show you what I'm doing and we communicate that way. So I'm I think I might be the only pen maker in the world that does this. You get to have firsthand view of things that I do on a daily basis. It's like you're a part of the process, and I show my work and I take pictures and I explain what I'm doing. And then you can ask me questions or ask me if you know, hey, can we do this material or do that material? Because I'm always make myself available to people that I'm making pens for, because I want them to feel like they're a part of the process.
Excuse me, Doc, is there any way that you can put some of the pictures up of some of the pens that you've gotten from Tim? So
Yeah, actually, I was going through Tim's website and I found one of your mammoth tooth pens. If you like, Tim, I'll post that.
Sure.
I'll show it to the group. I'm going to need control of the screen, or I don't think I have it. Remember like last time, Larry?
Okay, Jake's gonna do it for you right now.
If I can figure out where it was.
Or Frank, can you do it?
There's a couple of cool ones that I like too. One I just sent to Hong Kong, where I made the clip and I put circles inside the clip. And there's concentric circles all inside the clip. And that one I really liked.
He's looking, they're looking.
And then what's another one that I really like? I did my 100th pen in Georgia. I made out of mammoth tooth, and I made it with Sequoia burl, and I made it with a meteorite clip, and I engraved just simply 100, hand engraved 100 on the ring on the back of it. That was another one of my favorites. The one that's going in the magazine this month is one I made out of. Go ahead.
No,
Okay.
go. Yeah,
all right, it's going to let me do it now. I want to get that shot of the pen.
Okay, you're on now. You got it, Joe?
I got it. Thanks.
Okay.
So this is can you guys see this picture? That's the mammoth tooth. Right, Tim? You want to say something about that?
So that is actually the model pen that I'm going to make all the LEs look like.
Oh, okay.
What you see right there is exactly what all the LEs are going to look like. That's about a 2-inch piece of mammoth tooth. The barrel's about, I don't know, 3.2 inches long. The cap is about 2.75 inches long. The clip, the ring, and the finial is all made out of handmade mokume. I made every part here in my shop. Now, notice what I said, solid colors. You'll see a solid green there. That's the color of the plastic. I'm not dealing with any crazy plastic. It's just hand poured green resin. It's beautiful, and it has like a pearlescent look to it, but there's nothing overly, if you saw that pen just made in green with nothing else on it, you would think that's just a green pen.
And that's the copper nickel thing, isn't it?
Yes, that's mokume gane, which is folded layers of copper and nickel silver.
And I'm going to pull up some other images here.
Okay, yeah. Here we go, some more.
Let's see what we got. I know there was one here. Here's the engraving, Tim.
Yeah, so that's a recent engraved, hand engraved American scroll.
Yeah.
Yes. So that one I sent to Scotland, believe it or not.
Okay.
You can see the one with the.
Okay, look at this one here. Yeah.
Yeah, those are, I think, some cherry blossoms. The lady she's from England. She moved to the United States and she wanted cherry blossoms with a cardinal or something like that. That's the vintage snake skin. There's one in there that I wanted. Okay, that one's went to England. The lady wanted a tree of life.
Yep.
So that I hand cut that thing out of copper, and then soldered that onto there. and then did all the texturing by hand. Again, just a plain green plastic. But all the metal work took hours and hours. That was hours and hours of work on just that barrel.
You can see that nib has been engraved too, the
Yes.
holy symbol.
Beautiful
So
pen.
I tell people all the time that my clips usually take longer than most people's pens,
Yeah.
entire pens.
Oh, look at this one. Just oh, look at this one. Look at that one, like a candy store.
So yeah, that is just a piece of copper. That's a sleeve over, again, solid color resin.
God, it's pretty. Damn.
And that's all in hand engraved. That's another one that took hours and hours. I mean, you imagine, you're there under a microscope, just cutting and cutting and cutting away. The one that's if you see at the top here, that one that's white, that's the one that's going to be in the magazine. That's the C'est La Vie pen.
This one, Tim?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it. C'est La Vie. That's beautiful.
So that is white Galalith with a handmade Damascus clip, and that clip, that Damascus on that clip was a one-off piece of Damascus. If you can get a better picture of that where you can see that.
Okay, 1 second. There it is.
Oh,
Very
okay.
interesting pattern. So that was a really hard clip to work with because it was kind of really hard. And you can see the C'est La Vie is all hand engraved in script. And on the top it was some kind of circle of life symbol. If you can find the finial, top to the finial.
Yeah, I believe it's there too. It's let me see, maybe
there it is.
You see, oh, there it is. That's it, right?
Yes. So that's all in hand engraved as well. Now I also do inlay where I've inlaid copper into certain metals. I don't know which pen you'll have to look through. It's up more. And I've done inlay and I've done all different.
Yeah, I might not be able to locate them all, Tim, but yeah,
No,
it's beautiful. This is a good shot of the nib. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that is a gold. Now imagine, if I slip,
Yep.
that nib's toast.
So that's a
I can't
rhodium
do
plated
anything.
nib. Rhodium plated nib with the yellow gold exposed through the engraving, right?
Exactly. So that has to be done in one shot. There's no sanding. There's no buffing. So you have to, I don't drink a lot.
Hope not.
Tim, I want to show the pen that Larry fell in love with. This is the one you did for me. I forget when this was done, but
Yeah, that's the
yeah.
celluloid.
Yeah, Tim thought he
That's
thought that was
gorgeous.
black. It's actually dark purple celluloid.
That's a
So I think
beauty.
that's probably going to be 2016.
Yeah, that's when we. Yeah, exactly.
It's the one that I like.
Yeah, maybe even earlier, 2000.
Yeah, and then the one that you made for me with the Model V is this one here. I don't know if you can see. You guys see that?
That's a pretty one too.
Yeah, it was. But like you said, Tim has evolved, and these are beautiful pens. And I don't know how many of these. How many did you make? Like 4 of these, Tim, or
4 or 5? Yeah.
4 or 5? I know. Doesn't what's her name have one in Georgia too? Olga. Does she have one?
Olga,
Of these?
she might have one.
Yeah. Let me go
You
back
know what's
to
funny
shit.
is I don't see my work coming up on the secondary market that much.
No, I've never seen it. You also did you also did an engraving for Olson's pen, Mike, because I got his 100-acre wood pen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, I did all the engraving for that.
Yeah. And that's a
I've
little
done a
honey
lot of
pot.
and Jason is actually a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he'll tell you this, that he's learned a lot from me. So hopefully I'm not talking out of school, but you can see a lot of his similarities of my work in his work.
Now, Doc, you had was it a green one or a blue one that you
Yeah,
had?
the green. I think I still have the green one now.
Show that one. That'll knock your
Yeah.
eyes out.
Hold on for 1 second. Let me just get the image up. See, Tim, he's talking about that vintage green celluloid.
Yeah. I've made like 4, in fact, that's one I have here. what happened was a friend of mine, Kenneth Hertz, had this pen and dropped it, and he sent it back for me to fix it up, and I did. So I'm getting ready to finish it for him and send it back to him. Let me see if I can. I have it here in my hands, but you have the same one.
Yeah, it was, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it was a joke. You called it the Cullen because we were talking about stuff. Yeah.
Because it looks like a Nakaya.
Well, that was
So
upon request, right? I might have requested you to do that.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Now, isn't that just knockout gorgeous? Now, for real.
Yep.
Oh,
And for
Very
me,
simple pen.
For me, it's a very simple pen.
for me, it's saying eat me. Okay. Yeah. Delicious. Yes.
So a pen like that I can do in maybe a week or so. If I'm working,
No, it's good looking pen. Good looking pen.
I don't get a lot of call for simple stuff anymore. So that's the thing, is when I do.
That simple?
Well, for me, it's simple.
Oh, okay.
Because the Damascus work is very difficult. Damascus, in order to bend Damascus, you have to heat it up red hot and then bend it. And then what you have to do is you have to make sure that you've not overbent it or underbent it, because then you have to try and bend it more. Well, it'll break or it'll distort if you don't have it just right. Then after you do that, you have to heat treat it, and then you have to draw it back so you'll give it that spring. So that's the difficult part about working with Damascus. That's why I think I might be the only one in the world that makes one-piece Damascus clips.
I've not seen it again.
No, it's very difficult. I've been working with it for years. David Broadwell doesn't even make one-piece Damascus clips.
The good thing about the images I showed, Tim, is that it shows the progression. You know what I mean? These are beautiful pens, well made. But as you said, you wanted to do more challenging stuff, and you went on to do that, engraving and more metal work.
Yes. And I don't like to make my pens, they're not heavy. They're not tanks. They may look heavy, but when I do a metal barrel, it's a very thin metal barrel. And if I'm doing titanium, it's almost as light as a regular pen. I don't do too much, having too much girth on my metal. I think, I have a philosophy, and, maybe you guys can agree with it. Maybe you don't. You see a lot of people, they're making these ornate pens, and they're making them with doors and dragon wings and all kinds of stuff and sculptures on them. But I have this theory that a pen should have a classic shape and a classic look. And then you work within that spectrum to try to get what you want. I like a lot of the David Oscarson stuff and a lot of the things that people are doing. But to me, it adds weight and makes them cumbersome to use on a daily basis. I want you to be able to pick up one of my pieces and be able to use it all the time if you like. And then you could put it back in a case or in a drawer or whatever you put it. But to have something that you have to worry that, there's pieces to it or parts that are going to come apart. Or I think I have it might be a criticism, but I think it's not a way to make pens. I'm sure it works for other people, but if you have one of my pens, you can put it into your pocket. You can slip it into your pocket, and you don't have to worry about something sticking out, getting caught on something maybe, so that's just my opinion. I might be too opinionated, but this is what I do.
Now, all those pens I showed, the 3 pens that I have of Tim's, they're not small pens, but they're all pretty light. And I think that and when I work with you, Tim, my main concern was the very point. He was concerned with the pen. I was concerned with the writing surface because of my penmanship. That's what makes the most sense to me, is having a good pen that writes. And it's not a pound in your hand,
Hey, Doc. Doc,
Yeah.
would you mind showing those pins again? Tony just got on here, and no.
Which
go
pen
ahead,
do you
show
want
them.
to see?
That's all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just came late to the game. I apologize,
That's
everybody.
all right. Yeah, go ahead if you don't mind, Doc.
That's the one that Larry really, really took liking to.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's a killer.
Yes.
Yeah, that
green
Damascus steel I love the Damascus steel a lot. Beautiful.
And it's the green celluloid one that Tim made.
Look
But
at
again,
that.
these are earlier Tim made
Beautiful.
these in around 2015, 2016. So the stuff he's doing now is got, you know, more workmanship as far as the metal goes. But yeah, these are, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, these are all one-piece Damascus clips like you were talking about, right?
One piece.
Yeah.
I developed a system on how to make the ring on it. Like I said, I use a mill and a special fixture that now has been adopted by many other makers that are doing one-piece clips. And I don't mind giving out my secrets because, you know, I think it makes me even strive for much greater work. I'm always challenging myself to do better and better work. So when someone asks me, I don't have trade secrets. If somebody asks me, how do you do that? I usually just tell them. I said, this is how I do it. And if you want to do it, do it. I don't have any proprietary trade secrets that I'm going to keep under the vest like some people do. I find that, you know, I just think that if you want to make yourself better, you got to keep the competition coming because, as I said, I try to do things that no one else can do, or they don't want to do it because it's too hard. It's not easy to sit at a mill or a lathe and mill a solid bar into just a small tube. It takes hours and hours and hours. I don't use a tap and die because I want to be able to make the thread and tell someone that the thread were all made with my human hands and my eyes, you know, and they'll know that, you know, it was. Sometimes I tell people it's amazing what my hands know that my brain doesn't, because I think the human hand is the greatest tool. If we take away a lot of that, then we take away a personality of each piece. And it sounds kind of wacky, but when you get a piece of mine, you know that every bit of it had my hands on it. So.
Okay, now, Tim, anything else you'd like to share? Did you cover everything?
Yeah, you know,
Tony, go ahead.
I got a question. Since I came late, I came in on my pens are light. That's kind of here, and I'm one of those weirdos that I love hefting a pen. I really, because I let the pen glide. I just kind of guide the pen, and the weight of the pen should, if it's a good fountain pen, it should write without pushing down. That's the whole point of a fountain pen, and so I kind of like some heft. So, are you saying that all your pens are all light, or
no?
Okay.
No, I can make heavy pens. I can make light pens. I can make big pens and small. I'm the Dr. Zeus of pen makers.
Okay. I like it.
Like I said, I think I might be the only person outside of making the size emperor size pen. Wow. I don't know of another hand maker that makes that size of pen.
And you know, Tim, as you know, that pen is really, really big, but it's not a very heavy pen.
Right.
No,
you know, it's ebonite. Yeah.
No, and I make mine. I've made the only wood one that I've ever known, and that went to San Francisco. I've made them out of wood. I've made them out of acrylic. I've made them out of Galalith. I've made them out of, you know, I make them out of any material someone wants. If you don't want ebonite, I can make them out of any kind of material. And like I said, they're complete. The one that I did the piano clip, that was a emperor size pen, and that had a two-piece stainless clip that I engraved a piano keyboard on.
Wow.
So
hey, Tim, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is celluloid prominent now, or is that gone by the wayside, or can you even get it anymore? Or,
well, there are a few companies, proprietary companies like that still make their own celluloid. Yes. I maybe artists or something like that. I'm not sure. But they don't sell it. So early on in my career, when I first started making pens, I started buying up as much as I could find, thinking that I was going to use a lot of celluloid. Now I have enough probably to make 200 pens, maybe more. But is it a prominent material? I don't use it that much, but I'm sure that other makers would if they had it. I have it in case someone wants it, but I don't use it a lot. As you see, most of my work is done with solid colors, and then all my metal work is what people are looking for.
or my
Great
engraving.
answer. Does it have the old camphor smell to it?
Well, I have most of mine is cellulose acetate from the 1920s. I do have a few pieces of the camphor style, like Dr. Joe has one of my pens with that. I'm going to be honest. I think I think celluloid is overrated. I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
I actually prefer to work with Galolith. I think
Okay.
I love that material. A lot of people can't work with it because you can't use a tap and die to cut the threads. It'll chip and break on you because it's chippy material. But I've always liked it. I think there's a deepness to that material. Or casein. I really like casein. I think there's a deep richness to that material. I'm not overly happy with celluloid because a lot of times celluloid is very soft. It can be very soft, and it's more malleable. It's not as hard. So it's difficult sometimes to get when you're sanding a pen. You can over sand it or you can overdo it, and it's not the funnest stuff to work with. It threads well, but it doesn't shine. Nitrate cellulose doesn't shine any better to me than cellulose acetate. So, let's get down to brass tacks, guys.
No, thank you. I appreciate your input. I've always been a celluloid fan, so
it's beautiful
thank you.
stuff. I think it's like it's the original pen material, and it's been used for years and years. So people covet this material, but I can tell you that what is a pen? A pen is just a cylinder, basically, and it's attached to a nib. The most important part of the pen is not the celluloid, it's the nib and the feeding system.
Agreed.
Okay, so actually the section is probably the third most important part. So without those three things, you cannot make a quality pen. Everything that you put around it, as long as you seal the pen well, can be anything that you want. I use wood, I use metal, I use horn, bone, antler. You can use almost anything and you can create a very unique pen. You don't have to just use the materials that everybody thinks that you should use. I think it's this, I don't know, unwritten rules or something like that, but I don't follow them.
Yeah, I
good for you, sir.
I definitely agree with everything you said, Tim. The only thing I'll add is that given that the presumption that the nib and the feeding system are all the most important, which they are, obviously. Why would we buy more pens? So my theory is that the reason why I have different pens, and I've got more than I need, but not as many as I want. So is that every pen, the barrel, the cap, it's the personality.
Exactly.
It feels different in the hand, and it. I can tell you, I could close my eyes and pick up any of my pens, and I'll know which one it is. It's like my kids.
And that's why I think that I've made my own niche. I'm not going to say that I make, I'm the most popular pen maker, because I'm obviously not. But it's kept me in business because I can do things that you can't get anywhere.
Right.
And if you're looking for something that I can't buy off the shelf, or I can't order from, Pens R Us or whatever, but it has to have, let's say it's, you want your name on it, or you want a, inlaid piece of, something on the finial. Well, there's only one person that you can get that from in the entire world.
Tim, I got a question for you. Go back to the nibs for a minute. Do you offer the ebonite feed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can get those.
Okay.
I can make I like to make my sections out of ebonite.
All right.
I feel like ebonite is it's the best material for sections. So I like black ebonite sections. That's my favorite section. If someone doesn't say, hey, give me this kind of section, I'll make the section out of black ebonite. Because I really think it's a durable, good material. It really feels well in your hand when you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quality. I use German ebonite mostly, some Japanese, but that's pretty much it. I have a good stockpile of German ebonite. I probably have a couple miles worth.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? Early on, when I made pens, I took all the money that I was making and put all back into the materials. So now I have enough. My wife keeps telling me, "Hey, you know, you don't need to buy any materials because you're never gonna make all those pens. I'm never gonna get through the materials that I have." You know, so basically, I have blue, red, green, purple, all different colors of ebonite, and I make maybe 2 or 3 ebonite pens a year.
Why's that?
I think it goes back. Ebonite usually comes in like swirly different things. Now I've used solid ebonite when I use like a lot of metal work. Because of my metal work sometimes can clash with material. So if you're doing something engraved and you're putting it next to some crazy colored blank, it's not going to come off well. So like the purple pen that I made with the engraved sleeve. Let's say that I would engrave that sleeve and put it on one of Jonathan Brooks' fusion blanks or whatever he calls them. Beautiful blank, but it wouldn't go well because it wouldn't match. You need some kind of contrast. You need a canvas to put something on, and usually a canvas is almost like a solid color.
Okay, folks, we're getting close to wrapping it up. Anybody want to ask Tim any questions before we split?
How do I, I got to thank Larry because Tim, forgive me, I'd never heard of you, and I apologize. I should have at this point in time in 5 years of buying pens. I'm glad I found you now, and so I'll thank Larry for having me help me spend more money by maybe. How do I find you? Do you have a website that we could?
I don't do a website. You'll find me on Facebook. You can just send me a friend request.
I'll do that.
And if anybody wants to send me a friend request, I pretty much, if you're a pen person, I'll accept you.
Oh, wait, time out. But Tony, you better be in good health. You know why?
Why's that?
At least 2 years.
Oh, you got 2 year back lead time?
No, he might squeeze you in. Doc might give him a good word about you. He might squeeze you in.
Yeah.
Well, like,
You know how that is,
I have certain like if Dr. Joe came to me and said, "Tim, can we start a pen maybe next?" I would say yes. But on people that I don't know, that I've just met, and they just call me for the first time, I put them on my list. And like I said, sometimes what happens is they move up quick because they're not ready. So I'll move someone up, or actually every once in a while I make extra pens as well. Like I'm in the process of making a few extra pens right now with Damascus clips, and I can show them to this group if you guys would like.
Yeah,
and,
go ahead. Yeah,
they're going to be ebonite in a Cullen shape with Damascus. I'll show you the 2 rings, 2 clips I'm making them with. So the clips are already made.
Oh yeah, beautiful. Look at that.
And look, they're
they're ready to go. How about that?
That's
Beautiful.
amazing.
So one's going to be, I think, a green ebonite. The other one might be a red ebonite. Because I had made these 2 clips and I didn't like the way they looked on the pens that I were making. So I thought, hell, I love these clips, but I'll put them on something else. So I'm going to make 2 Cullen shaped pens. They're basically going to look like this green one here, but with ebonite.
Oh, stay away. That's so pretty.
And this pen I made the same time I made Dr. Joe's many years ago. It came back to me just to do this. He dropped it and this broke because this stuff is very brittle. And he dropped it onto like a concrete floor. But see, the thing is, I have a policy. Maybe I'll end it with this. I have a policy, and I've never not followed through. If something that I made broke or something that needs repaired, I always repair it. No questions asked.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And I don't charge for the repair. And it might take a while, but I'll get to it and I'll repair it, and you'll get your pen back if it's repairable.
If not,
I've had one come back to, I've had one come back to me. It was in so many pieces that I couldn't repair it. I think the guy's wife got mad at him and threw it something or something like that.
That'll
So
do it. Yeah.
yeah,
That'll do
So,
it, baby. But you
it's
know what?
always
Tony
been-
knows about that, but that's
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
it's always been a policy of mine because I always say to people, if you're not happy, I'm not happy. In my, I think now 12 years of making pens, I have not had one person return a pen back to me and said, I don't like this.
Wow.
That's 12 years. Now, not to say it's not going to happen. Knock on wood. It may happen. You may get one of my pens and think, oh, he's not always cracked up to be. I'm not for everyone. Otherwise, I'd be selling millions of dollars worth of pens. But so
Wow.
anyway, I hope this was interesting to people.
It was. And okay, we're going to wrap it up. Tony, I'm sorry you didn't make it on time. but
That's
you know,
all right.
you know how it is.
I got the goods though. I got to see Joe. I got to see Bill. I got to see all of you guys. Will and Larry, Frank, thank you guys, and Justin.
Yeah,
And Tony, we
Will,
recorded it
hey,
just
Will,
for
good
you.
to see you, Will. And
Great
Bill,
meeting you, Tim.
Bill, you're so well behaved back there, Bill. You're so calm and collective and cool and laid back. And
He's so
and then
mellow
Mr.
today.
Will's just over here so hyper and just wants to jump out of the screen. Wow. And
Maybe
look
it's
at, and
me.
look at Doc over there.
Almost like you, Larry.
I know, but look at Doc. Doc's a vulture waiting for the attack.
Yeah, he's waiting.
Yeah. You got to watch the guy, man. Okay, folks. Hey, again, Tim, thanks for coming on today. You've been great.
Thanks for having
man.
me.
And everybody else, you've been great. And now I'm nauseated because my buddy got on here, Tony. Oh,
Hey, thank you,
Thanks
thank
a lot, guys.
you, Tim. Thank you,
Thank you so
Tim.
much.
Take care.
I really,
Tim.
thank you, Tim.